Draft day is nearly upon us, hockey fans. The NCDC Entry Level Draft, one of my favorite days of the year. Why? Because dreams are made, futures are set, and some big names come off the draft board to join some of the best teams in junior hockey, the National Collegiate Development Conference. It's near and dear to my heart, and it is the up-and-coming league in all of the world of junior hockey. The NCDC, it's where you want to play. And the Islanders Hockey Club, a team that many a great hockey player has called home, is a place you'd like to play as well. Coach Timmy K, as we call him, Coach Kyrkostas, joining us on the call right now. Coach, you're leading into draft day. We're about to get to that 0 hour here where we got to make our first pick. What are you guys going through right now in IHC land? What makes an IHC player, and what are the plans right now for the boys?
Yeah, so we've done a really good job, my staff and I, over the last 5-6 weeks. Hitting the road. Hitting the recruiting trails. We were at the U.S. Nationals. We're at some of the select festivals for USA Hockey. We're looking outside of New England. Looking across the U.S. into Canada and even overseas. We're doing we've done our homework. We've established a really good list of 05s and 06s. And right now, we're just really zoning in on the list of players that we want to select for next season. We went really young last year, which was going to pay dividends, this year and the next year coming up. So we're looking for some players that can come in and fill in some of the holes that we were missing. We need to improve upon getting some more offensive, scoring. We're looking for some guys that can just step in and compete and manage the game the right way, and understand the process and the mindset that you need to have to play at the NCDC level. Our level is a very high level, fast pace, skill league, and we're looking for players that can understand that, players that can come in and play that kind of game. And again, our league has done a terrific job of developing players for the NCAA collegiate level, and also the National Hockey League. And, the Islander Hockey Club has a rich tradition over the last, 15, 20 years of, producing players for the NCAA and even the National Hockey League. So the next group of kids that we're going to go after, hopefully they can follow in, the footsteps of the previous players, and we can get back up towards the top of the standings next year. That's our goal.
Now, Coach, you look at it, in professional sports, we're used to the draft world and draft day being a day of change, right? A day of kind of comeback stories, a day where everybody can be a champion on draft day, right? We look at it last season, you guys don't end up where you want to in the standings, but off the ice, sending guys off to college, getting guys to the Division I ranks, you were where you wanted to be. We're growing this thing back up this year. Is it similar to a professional draft for you this year? Is this how you get from, as you say, worst to first in the 2022-2023 campaign? Is it draft day where this is won? How's the thought process go with the junior hockey rank?
I think for us, obviously with the first pick, we're going to look for a player that we believe can step in and play on day one, for our team. And then the next picks, we're going to be looking to really collect some great young talent that, in the next year or two or even 3 years down the road, we'll be playing for the IHC and the NCDC. So to answer your question, yeah, it's a combination. First couple of players, maybe, impact players next season. And then, the rest of the players could be, players we see down the road playing for the IHC and the NCDC.
Yeah, and it's such an interesting take here, Lucas, as we introduce you and my right-hand man, Mike Consigliere, Monfrere for another mayor, looking at how to build a junior hockey team, right? And looking how to build at the Tier 2 level. It's a lot of future and it's a lot of present all at the same time. You got to be always looking at what your team is this season. You're also looking at guys that might not grow up through the ranks for a year or two or more. And Lucas, what do you have for Coach K here with his Islanders Hockey Club side? I know you love to get into the nitty gritty of it all as well.
Well, it is future and present, right? You've got what you have now. You're building towards the future, but the past is also important, right? And Coach, for someone like yourself who's been at the helm, for a number of years now, especially within this organization, talk about yourself. Talk about the kind of coach that some of these day one or some of these future day players are going to be playing for.
I think I'm a coach that has a reputation for, being, a caring coach. I really do care for my players. I love my players, and I'm brutally honest. I'm kind of old school in that way. I really don't sugarcoat. I tell them, I praise them when they need to be praised, and I hold them accountable and I kick them in the butt when they need to be, held accountable and kicked in the butt. So the players that are coming in here just, need to understand they're going to be playing for a guy that has some high expectations. I'm going to really hold them to a certain level of accountability. And, my job is to wire them the right way so they can have success when they move up the ranks into college.
Now, Coach, is there a similar feel on draft day to like the professional athletes where you might be able to take a guy that somebody else had on their list, on their target list? Is it a world where everybody's kind of in their own silo and they know their group of guys? How competitive does draft day get?
I think it's very competitive. I really do. I think a lot of us, are at the same recruiting events, and we have a good idea. I think the majority of the teams and coaches in this league, who the players are, who they are. Obviously we're going to go outside of New England, but inside New England, inside Massachusetts here, with the number of teams that we have in the NCDC, I'm pretty confident that we all know who the top 06s and 05s are. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see who gets who and who is on whose list when it's all said and done.
Now, we look at the National Collegiate Development Conference. We're the new restaurant in town, right? We're serving the new food. We're serving the hip. We're serving the opportunity at the future here for hockey players and their families around the country, around Canada, around the world, right? And we as we build the new restaurant, we got to teach folks about it. So can you tell them a little bit about the NCDC, what it's all about, and what you think makes it such a successful place for players to grow, cultivate, and get on to the collegiate ranks?
Well, that you just hit the biggest point here, and that's education. That's marketing. That's getting the word out across the hockey world outside of New England. Who we are and what we have to offer. And when I'm talking to a lot of players and their families, they didn't have an idea what NCDC was. So I find myself spending a lot of time just educating the players and the families on what our league's all about, what our track record is over the years of placing players into NCAA and also the National Hockey League. And, upon every, conclusion of every conversation, the parents and the players are like, wow, this is amazing. This is, eye-opening. We didn't even know, this was out there, this existed. So, the more we do this, the more I do this, the more the other teams and you and Lucas spread the word. I think people are going to really start to realize, what kind of great league we have here, and what a wonderful opportunity it is for players to come in and get that Tier 2 junior experience. It's going to help them develop into becoming NCAA collegiate players.
And now, one of my favorite pictures in the world is that starting in Islanders Hockey Club garb and ending up in the NHL, hanging high above the rink there up at Merrimack College. For the final question here to close out, I always love to ask coaches this, owners this, organizations this. For the Islanders Hockey Club, it's an easy answer for me, but tell those young players at home, those young athletes, why it's such an honor to play for the IHC emblem there, and just about the success of your organization as a whole.
Yeah, I mean, we have a tremendous track record, of players that have come in and, have worn our uniform and, have, a midget program and into our junior program. We have players, in the National Hockey League. We had Stanford win a Stanley Cup a few years ago. We got, right now, Mark Gallant was just invited to the San Jose Sharks development camp. And we played for the NCDC Unders a couple seasons ago. Today, we're games, towards the end of the year, Jackson Kyrkostas, my son, will be on the NHL Central Scouting list that comes out at 11 o'clock. So, these are, some nice, examples of players that have come into our program, use our program to develop, and, now have some incredible opportunities right in front of them.
Coach, I cannot imagine having your son on the NHL Central Scouting list. That's got to be both exciting, terrifying, a little bit of everything, right? Like you look at it, it's what we all want as parents in this game with these young athletes. It's why we bring them through the ranks. It's why you work so hard. It's why you invest so much into it, both time, energy, money, everything. It has to be a pretty incredible moment today.
Oh, it is. My wife and I and our whole entire family, we feel very blessed. We feel very, humbled by this recognition. And Jackson's a perfect example of a player that wasn't handed a tremendous amount of success. He had to really go through adversity. He had to battle through some injuries. And he was a late bloomer. I mean, he's still, in the process of fully, maturing his body. And, The fact that, he had such a strong season the last couple of seasons, he didn't make the first list. He didn't make the midterm list. But he kept on, grinding and, kept on going out there each and every day and making great plays and having good games. And, he's been recognized for that. So, it's a blessing. It really is. And it's a great feather in the cap for the USPHL and the NCDC and, everybody a part of the journey that's helped him, get to this point.
Pure hockey guy answer. Great feather in the cap, and he mentions everybody except for mom and pop there.
I mentioned mom and pop.
you got to give yourself the credit. You guys did it. You guys, we all know as parents how much work we put in, right? You guys put so much work in to get this thing done. And what an incredible job! Congratulations to Jackson, yourself, the Islanders Hockey Club organization, USPHL, the NCDC, the Islanders Hockey Club. Your first pick in the NCDC draft. Who will it be? Stay tuned for Commissioner Bob Turo's call with that first pick live on the air, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time for those of you in the Midwest. Those of you in the West Coast, the best coast as some of them call it, 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Tune in. NCDC entry-level draft covered by yours truly, Dan K. Lucas Jones to my right. YouTube.com. You'll look up 2022 NCDC Draft. You can find it on YouTube.